to understand that although changes happen in this world constantly, that we cannot lose ourselves within these changes. Understand that no matter what happens in this world, we must not panic or lose faith. When we panic and lose faith, we essentially say to ourselves and others that we have no faith in the Most High. We essentially say to the Most High as well that we don't have faith in Him. We have to understand that changes occur in this life, but the Most High knows all these changes that will occur. The Most High knows all these situations that will happen in this world before we know it. We have to understand that when we put our faith in the Most High, no matter the changes that occur and happen, we cannot be fearful. When we are fearful, we start to play tricks on ourselves throughout that fear. The mind is a very complex thing. When we understand our mindset and mind frame, then we can actually navigate society in a way where we're less fearful. There will be situations where you will be fearful due to the human body just naturally adjusting to a situation. But we have to understand that in this life today, the Most High knows everything that is going on. When we don't put our faith and trust in the Most High, then we lose our faith in ourselves as well. We have to understand that through it all in this life, the Most High will provide us a way out. Every day that you're provided the ability to wake up, it's a day for you to learn, grow, and change. We have to understand the times that we live in. We have to understand that everything that happens in this life is for a reason. When we understand that, then we can navigate this world in a more positive way, a more positive format. When we don't understand these things and when we are not prepared, then that's when we are fearful, we lose faith, we become sorrowful because we thought something different was going to occur. But when you place it in your mind that there's going to be negative situations in this life and in this world, when you go into situations, you have a perspective in your mind that this can possibly go right or it can possibly go wrong. Many times, especially as humans, we try to play into our fantasies and desires and only looking at the perspective of things going right. But we never look at the perspective of things going wrong. Until things go wrong, then some people may be self-aware and look at the perspective of things going wrong. But for the most part, people only look at the things that are going right and not the things that are going wrong. And especially in the world, you know, you have many situations and scenarios where people play into their desires, especially with social media. You may see a listing or a posting that may state that you're able to make this amount of resources in a certain amount of days, a certain amount of weeks, a certain amount of months, a certain amount of years. And your desire and your fantasy is to gain money and resources, essentially. So your desires that you have play into your subconscious, and you decide to make decisions off of your desires. And this is how scam artists actually get you, by playing onto your desires. And your desires to have riches and wealth. So they know that and they understand that, and their best position possible is trying to get you to play into the desires of yourself to actually make them more money. So you may actually, you know, have a build partnership with these people, or you may buy into their programs, and essentially you want to see a change in your own life listening to these scam artists, and it may not work in your favor. You may place yourself in much more debt. You may place yourself in actually much worse positions for your life because you play into your desire and fantasy, and you trust that these scammers are trustworthy and that they have your best interests at heart. But they don't. What we must understand is through these situations that happen, we have to expect the unexpected. When we put our lives in other people's hands, many times people will take advantage of it. And when we expect the unexpected, in that scenario and situation that I was speaking on with the scammers, we understand that, hey, there are people that will actually help us make a change in our own personal lives and gain resources. And then there's people who want to take advantage of us and will actually benefit off of damaging us. When we understand this concept, we understand what business relationships that we want to get into and go into, what business dealings that we want to conduct and take place in our own lives, and the mission that we have for ourselves. We have to understand that in everything, always weigh the pros and the cons. In everything. When you only look at the pros, essentially what you're saying is that everything will go right. And life doesn't go like that. There are going to be situations that go wrong in your own personal life, in everybody's life. When we understand the pros and cons and we weigh our options, then we can actually make a more accurate analysis on if we want to really get into this business ordeal or not. Never jump into anything. Weigh out your pros and cons in everything. In everything that you do. Business settings, relationships, everything. Even in relationships, you may meet somebody and you may be attracted to that person, and you may not know that person. And you may think that dealing with this person, everything is going to go right. Everything is going to go the way that you want to go, because you're playing on your fantasies and desires. And when you meet that person, when you actually have a conversation with that person, when you actually are around that person, then you may see that person's personality traits and characteristics. And there are situations where people may like their personality traits and characteristics and end up being with that person, or they may not like their character traits or personality traits and they may not be with them. But it's just that factor of understanding that you have to expect the unexpected in everything, especially with human interaction in this life today. Everything, even in your own personal life and how you look at yourself. There may be days where you feel good about yourself, and then there may be days where you do not feel good about yourself. There may be days that you may want to do the most and make the biggest change in your life, and then there's other days where you may not want to do that. And when you understand this, and you understand that this is life and that's how life goes, every day it's an ability and an opportunity to make change and understanding. We have to understand that in this world and in this life today, there's going to be many different changes. When you are aware of the change and understand the change, essentially you know and are guarded by that change. When you are not guarded by that change, then when that change does occur, it catches you off guard. It's better to be prepared than not to be prepared, because when you're not prepared and things happen, it's going to be harder for you to get back on your feet when things do happen. Many times and many people in this world were not prepared. They may have had the fame, the fortune, the notoriety, and they thought that they would have that position forever. And many people might have lost that position and were not able to get back on their feet because they thought that they had it all figured out. Essentially, sometimes you see people may lose faith in themselves and they may lose confidence, which is not going to help them get back on their feet. There's also other people who might have lost confidence and lost faith, but were able to actually rebuild themselves back to the position that they were once in, because they know and understand that sometimes you have to fall in order for you to get back up and go further on the path and the direction that you want to go. But essentially, people who fall and are not used to falling, are not used to failure, they tend to not get up after they fall because they were in a state of mind that they will always be successful, they'll always be good. Everything that happens in their life is always positive, so they're not used to negative situations happening in their own personal life. So it's best today that we understand that we have to expect the unexpected, because there will be situations in this life that happen to us, but when we can actually caution ourselves and guard ourselves, then essentially we will not be wide open to any form of negativity that can actually throw us off and stop our progression in this life today. It's best that we understand these things early before we encounter it, so we know how to navigate and encounter it when we do. Today, I'll be leaving you with this scripture today. Matthew 24:36. But of that day and that hour knoweth no man, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. We have to understand that in this life today, the Father knows everything. The Father knows it all. What we have to do is be prepared and expect the unexpected. We always have to prepare ourselves. Even though the Father knows it all before we do, it is best that we stay prepared. It's best that we stay in the faith and we understand God and His plan for our lives today. I want to thank you for watching. Peace.